This is Low Carb Mom, your weekly resource for maintaining a keto or low carb lifestyle. We're going to keep you on track with a tip, some low carb resources, and a meal plan for the next 7 days. Use this resource to stay focused, motivated, and inspired in your low carb lifestyle. I'm Elizabeth, and let's get started with something I have been working on this past couple of weeks. It's l-reuteri yogurt, which is not really yogurt technically, but it is a bacteria that you can cultivate in milk to create a yogurt-like substance, which when you eat it, it helps you to feel happier. So do you want to feel happier in 7 days without triggering an insulin response? As in you don't have to eat donuts in order to make yourself feel happier for these 7 days? This new activity blends biohacking with kitchen witchery, adding a spice of mad scientist. I don't mind admitting that's how I feel about it. The result is a delicious creamy concoction that is a cross between Greek yogurt and sour cream, I kind of figured out this week. It's delicious, it feels luxurious, and it offers hormonal benefits that can positively impact your mood and improve your relationships. So I gotta say, I feel like I'm kind of hooked right now. So here's why you should try cultivating l-reuteri. Number one, it's cost effective. It's super cheap. It's cheaper than buying capsules on subscription, that's for sure. If that's how you're going to be getting your l-reuteri, I mean, if you can afford it and that's fine for you, then that's fine. But there's benefits to cultivating it at home too. So what is l-reuteri? L-reuteri is a rod-shaped bacteria that commonly lives in the human gut, very commonly. But it is so easily killed off by antibiotics, such as penicillin, that it is actually very rare right now. So it used to be very common. Back when it was first discovered, it was very common. It's transferred from mother to child during breastfeeding. But now it's down to something like 5% of the population actually has this l-reuteri in their gut. You can replace this very helpful colony of bacteria with supplements, but they are kind of pricey. I don't know, something like $50 per bottle. And if you're getting a bottle every month, that's kind of like an extra bill, especially if you have more than one person in your household. And not all of those capsules, I'm hesitant to tell you this, they don't all necessarily contain active bacteria. And how would you know if you didn't try cultivating them from the capsule? You might never know. My friend discovered this disappointing fact when she experimented making a couple of different batches from scratch. So she started one from scratch and then she started a totally other one from scratch as well. One of these batches multiplied and made a really nice yogurt that she could then take that as a starter and make more yogurt. But then the other one that she started from scratch fell flat and stayed in like a liquidy format. Even though she used 5 capsules, like she really went overboard to try to make sure she had enough for the starter. So what this means is that in her case, possibly as few as 3 out of 10 of her capsules contained active ingredient. Because we can't know for sure that all the capsules in the good batch were actually active. We just know that of the 5 of them, there was enough to make a yogurt. So possibly that batch might have contained a few duds as well. Crazy. When you cultivate your l-reuteri, you can be reasonably sure that your yogurt contains living l-reuteri because you're seeing that it's cultivating. And then you continue cultivating it in new batches of yogurt, creating more of this healthy bacteria without even buying new capsules. So kind of like a double bonus. Your tools and ingredients can be acquired cost effectively. You can get a yogurt maker on Facebook Marketplace for very cheap, and honestly, you do not need to make this complicated or overthink it. If you're in a warm place and you can just use your garage and you know that the temperature is reasonable, you can just do that. You can get your inulin, which is an ingredient that feeds the replication of l-reuteri during the cultivation process. You can get that on Amazon pretty cheap. And just use cheesecloth or use a very clean kitchen towel to strain out the whey if you're going to add that to your process, which I do recommend. L-reuteri kills bad bacteria in your gut. That's kind of cool. You don't want the bad bacteria in your gut. Actually, I don't know why you don't want the bad bacteria in your gut, but I guess it's bad for a reason. L-reuteri produces an antibiotic as part of its metabolic life cycle, and this antibiotic keeps the gut biome in shape without harming the other good bacteria. So this antibiotic that it produces actually helps to kill off and keep in check those bad bacteria. It also has the beneficial effect of stabilizing the gut by helping form the intestinal barrier, which prevents what they call leaky gut. And it reduces the severity of diarrhea and helps to combat viral infections that infect the gut, such as, like, if you have the flu, it's a viral infection, it's infecting the gut. It could be made a little bit less severe by just having a good l-reuteri colony in there. And what was the selling point for me is that l-reuteri makes you feel happy. How could this possibly be true, you may be wondering? I mean, I certainly didn't believe it right off the bat. The only reason that I gave this a try is really because of the first two pointers, well, really the first one, which is that it's so cheap and like there's really no downside to giving it a try. So l-reuteri stimulates the release of the gut hormones secretin, which then stimulates the release of oxytocin. So it's like a whole sequence of things that it doesn't directly create oxytocin in your body, but it's part of this chain of events that needs to be in place in order for oxytocin to be created in these beneficial quantities. Oxytocin is a hormone that supports social bonding. It's called the cuddle hormone, and it helps you feel more friendly or in love with the people in your life. So I was like, okay, I'll give that a try. Why not? Why wouldn't you vote in favor of that? That sounds reasonable to me. Oxytocin has been shown in studies as well to reduce hedonic overconsumption. And what is hedonic overconsumption? That's, I guess that they're using this as a technical term. To me, it just seems very fancy, but it means that participants in the study that were supplemented with oxytocin, I think they usually got it up the nose as a spray up the nose, they were less likely to indulge in eating lots and lots of junk foods. So that's the hedonic overconsumption. So eating junk food, things for pleasure, and then overeating them. This could be another way that l-reuteri does support a low-carb lifestyle because hedonic binges can upset a well-developed low-carb digestive system. So if you've been going for a week or two or even a few months and you're doing really well on your low-carb and then you have a hedonic overconsumption episode, then it can be very difficult to get back on course because when you do that to your body, and it can be like you don't necessarily feel like you're in control of that, but when it happens, due to the chemistry of the system being out of balance and constantly demanding more carbs, it can be difficult to get back on track. And then there's a lot of self-blame that takes place and all of that. So having this l-reuteri in place as just an extra participant in helping to keep you stable, I mean, why not? That's another really good benefit. For men, I do not know if this is true or if this is even a valid thing to say. Some studies seem to suggest that testosterone serum levels are higher in people who consumed l-reuteri. So I don't know if that's only men or if that's also women, but I do know that one of the benefits that keeps on being mentioned about l-reuteri is that it helps with your libido, and testosterone certainly does play a part in that. So take that as you will. Apparently it is not a confirmed effect, but just something that sort of has a question mark or an asterisk next to it. Maybe testosterone can be impacted by l-reuteri being in the gut. There are many other supposed benefits of taking l-reuteri. I'm not going to mention them all here, but they're mostly all related to living better for longer. Things like having better skin, having less problems with your gut, of all kinds of problems with your gut, living longer, and being healthier while living longer until you're dead, until you die. A lot of these effects are observed in studies involving mice. So I'm going to just sort of drop that there and just let you investigate that, because I'm not looking to go into extreme detail. I'm just trying to say these are some things that made me give it a try, and I'm feeling amazing with trying l-reuteri for the past week or so, and also having success with the cultivation of it. So the studies are ongoing and the results look promising. From my experience, I do feel better. I'm eating half a cup daily, usually quarter of a cup in the morning, quarter of a cup at night. And to be honest, even if this is a placebo effect, I mean, I'll take these benefits. There's calcium in there anyway. So it's not like I'm eating something super unhealthy or like I'm kicking myself out of ketosis. Cultivation equals control. Don't forget that. When you cultivate it yourself, it means that you are controlling the ingredients and you're controlling the process and you have full transparency on what you're doing with your food. So you know that you have pasteurized or you've scalded your milk and for how long. You know the fat content and you have selected the specific milk that you want to use. And you can strain out and discard the whey if you want to. I do, because it reduces the carb count by more than 1/2, according to my my Google searches there. To keep low carb, you can also leave out sugar, obviously. But if you want to get some health benefits into your family's guts, you can add honey or jam or fruit and granola and make this into an irresistible breakfast treat. Give it to them for a week and see if they don't love you more. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it could work. It could be a good thing. So here's how I make it. First, get a starter. That's kind of the big trick. My friend gave me some of hers. She's the one who told me about it. Thank you very much. You know who you are. And it has worked so far in 4 batches. If I wanted to make some more and I was concerned about it and needed to start from scratch, there's a way to start from scratch. So if you don't have access to a starter near you, you can make your own by following the instructions in the book, which I'm going to link in lowcarbmom.ca. And I also talked about it last week in the podcast last week. So I make my yogurt using 1 liter of half and half, 10% fat. So quite high fat. It's marketed as a coffee cream. I use the Bear brand yogurt maker, and I use the Greek yogurt setting, which runs for 10 hours, and I run this program twice for 20 hours of cultivation. Apparently, l-reuteri is a little bit of a slow cultivator, and it's recommended in the book that you let it cultivate for like even 40, I think it's like 36 or 48 hours, something like that. But to be honest, I find that just doing it twice is good enough, and sometimes it ends while I'm sleeping, so I don't get to press go again until it's been a few hours just sitting there. So, I mean, I just have run it twice and it seems to be fine. Then I transfer a quarter of a cup of the yogurt into a very clean, and I clean it with vinegar or boiling water to make sure that it really is clean, a clean container to save my starter for the next batch. And then I transfer the rest of the yogurt into the strainer so that I can remove the whey. Removing the whey does reduce the carb count in the final product, but you don't have to waste the whey. You can if you want to, if you don't have time and you're just like, whey, disgusting. But you can collect it until you have a pot of it. Let's say like 2 liters or more would be great. And then cook it with a little vinegar to create your own homemade, this is going to blow your mind, ricotta cheese. Don't forget to salt your cheese when you store it, because salt is a preservative and it preserves cheese and it helps the cheese to taste better too. And I'm going to provide a video in the website, the newsletter, showing how to make the ricotta from your leftover whey. So go again to lowcarbmom.ca. It's going to be the pinned post from this week, and it's going to be in there posted. But you can also just find it on YouTube. The end product is a very thick and tangy, creamy yogurt that could be used as a cream cheese, or even like as a sour cream. You can use it to make dips. I just eat it straight. And I'm going to provide another podcast interview with Dr. William Davis, who talks about, he's got the book called Super Gut, and he's the one who's bringing this information about l-reuteri to the masses, talking about this bacteria. He talks about other bacteria too. So if you want to, again, go to lowcarbmom.ca and you'll find the information about him and Super Gut and the links and all that from last week. And I recommend checking that out and getting more information about this. The podcast features a woman called Donna Schwenk, And she talks to Dr. Davis multiple times, so you'll be able to find information. It's great being able to listen to podcasters when they talk to scientists about what's happening, because I feel like you get more kind of background information. It's very, very interesting, and you'll be able to hear that a lot of the information that I'm bringing you here actually has come from there. So this week's meal plan starts with low-carb spaghetti and meatballs. I'm very excited about this because I have not had energy to make meatballs in quite a long time since my surgery. And we have some guests this week. And I'm also, just as a coincidence, just stocked up with seafood. So we have a great seafood place here in central Alberta, of all places. So we're going to be serving a lot of salmon, and we even have some cod cheeks for a special treat. So I'm super excited about that. So you'll see that on the meal plan, and maybe that can inspire you. I'm sure you might not be able to find the exact same things, but I'll just, so that you can see how does a low carb person kind of plan their week. You'll see that there. I've also made a really delicious mild chicken curry, which has kind of a limey taste to it. And it is so good. It's ready for the guests as well. You're going to be able to find this week's meal plan at lowcarbmom.ca. And there's going to be a new meal plan and a new podcast once a week. That's my goal. I want to support you guys. Recipes are going to be available there too. And if you join as a supporter, you can interact with me and the Low Carb Mom community. We're a small community, but let's start growing and let's start supporting each other. We touch base every week to share our progress, trials and tribulations, and support each other through the hard parts, which is like all of the parts. So in order to be tolerable in the long term, everything on my plate, this is my whole philosophy, everything on my plate must be delicious and packed full of positive energy. It's a complete approach to life that will see us through strong and happy physically and mentally. So subscribe to Low Carb Mom, this podcast. Make sure you hit subscribe. Make sure you share it with somebody that you care about, and maybe share it with somebody that you want to love you more, and get them started on the l-reuteri program. That's a good idea. Why don't we spread the love? Everybody should be eating this stuff. Let's fall in love again. Stay mindful, stay organized, and we will see you next Monday. Bye-bye.